is proportional to L. Today, we are going to learn how to carry out a pendulum experiment. A pendulum is a simple yet fascinating tool used in physics to study the principles of motion and gravity. Throughout this tutorial, we'll go step by step to ensure you understand the process thoroughly. So, let's get started. Introduction. Before we dive into the experiment, let's quickly understand what a pendulum is. A pendulum consists of a mass, known as the bob, suspended from a fixed point by a string or a rod. When the bob is pulled to one side and then released, it swings back and forth in a regular motion. This motion is called oscillation, and it has some interesting properties we'll explore. Objective. The objective of this pendulum experiment is to measure the relationship between the length of the pendulum and its period of oscillation. The period of oscillation is the time it takes for the pendulum to complete one full swing from side to side. Materials required: a string or a rod, any material of your choice. A bob, a small mass, like a metal or plastic ball. A protractor, to measure angles. A stopwatch or timer. A ruler or measuring tape. Step-by-step procedure. Step 1. Set up the pendulum. Attach the bob to the end of the string or rod securely. Find a suitable place to hang the pendulum, ensuring there is enough space for it to swing freely without obstruction. Step 2. Measure the length. Use the ruler or measuring tape to measure the length of the string or rod from the fixed point to the center of the bob. This length will be our variable, so make sure to take accurate measurements. Step 3. Start the experiment. Pull the bob to one side, creating an angle, let's say, 10 degrees, with the vertical line. Release the bob and start the stopwatch simultaneously. Step 4. Measure the time. Measure the time it takes for the pendulum to complete 10 oscillations, swings back and forth. Divide this time by 10 to get the average time for one oscillation. This is the period, T, of the pendulum. Step 5. Record your data. Record the length of the pendulum, L, and its corresponding period, T, in a table. Step 6. Repeat. Repeat steps 3 to 5 for different lengths of the pendulum, changing the length of the string or rod, and record your data. Data analysis. Plot a graph with the length, L, on the x-axis and the period squared, T squared, on the y-axis. What do you observe from the graph? Is there any relationship between the length and the period squared? Conclusion. In conclusion, you have successfully carried out a pendulum experiment to study the relationship between the length of the pendulum and its period of oscillation. You might have found that the period squared is proportional to the length. This relationship is known as T squared is proportional to L. Today, we are going to learn how to carry out